Hi, welcome to What's on Your Mind. I am Peter, and today I give you Derek Tate. He's a man who grew up in Ireland, and at a very young age he discovered his passion for the mountains and for skiing. And now he lives in France and he's a professional ski instructor. Now, when he turned 50, he was looking for answers. And what did he do? He studied a major in positive psychology. As a result of that, he was so passionate that he has written a book about flow and how to get into flow. At this moment, as we speak, he is writing his second book, which is a handbook for coaches to help their coachees to get into that flow state. It's a very inspiring conversation with an inspiring man. Here comes Derek. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Welcome to What's on Your Mind with Peter Snowart. Every week, a guest talks about his or her story, and that story can inspire you to change your own. Here's Peter.
Hi, Derek.
Hello, Peter. Really nice to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, it's great to meet finally.
Yeah, I have a very easy question to start with. How are you doing?
How am I doing? Okay. Well, I suppose life is challenging at the moment because normally at this time of year I would be working as a ski instructor. And obviously all the ski resorts here in France are closed. And we have no clients anyway. Even if the ski resorts open in the next while, we still probably won't have any clients because we rely on people coming from the UK. But I don't think it's looking like the resorts will open. So life is very different at the moment. It gives me time for other things.
So this means that, I mean, apart from the financial thing, the most challenging thing right now is that you're also not able to ski?
We're able to get out at the moment and to ski tour, so we can walk uphill and then ski. So it's good for exercise. So there's been plenty of people out ski touring, and people can go Nordic skiing as well and get out in snowshoes, and so people can access the mountains. And it was very busy here over the Christmas, New Year holidays, but it's actually quite nice to see the place get quieter now. But yeah, so we can still get out and exercise. It's not like it was when we were in full lockdown earlier in December. But that may change. Depends how things go, I guess.
Okay. Now, I have read your book. It's called Flow.
Okay. Yeah. Well, learn, enjoy, flow, and grow is the
That's
title.
the long title. Now,
yeah,
your story is a very interesting one. You start with the fact that you are your environment. You want to become a ski instructor, but they told you that's not a real job. Eh?
Yeah. Well, I suppose when I started out, it was the 1980s when I thought about becoming a ski instructor, which and I'm from Dublin in Ireland, so skiing is not a big sport there. So to become a ski instructor in the 1980s was probably a little bit hard for some people to understand. Certainly within school and even within family, it was an unusual job choice, shall we say.
And where did you get that? How did you discover that passion for the mountains and for skiing?
Well, because I went on a school holiday.
Yeah.
So when I was getting towards the last couple of years of school, I got the opportunity to go on a holiday to Bulgaria. Yeah, and just loved it. I skied on the artificial slope in Dublin as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I started out. But I'd always loved sport generally. So anything outside sporting, but also being in the mountains generally. So
yeah, because that's in the book you're mentioning it. That's really your passion. It's the mountains. It's not the skiing per se, but it's really the mountains, which is your preferred environment, if I can call it like that.
Yeah. Maybe getting out in the mountains into nature, just enjoying the countryside, whatever the activity. It doesn't. Skiing obviously is an exciting activity, but could be mountain biking or just hill walking. I think as I've got older, I can appreciate the more maybe less, active sports or the less thrilling sports, perhaps.
Yeah, for the kick.
Yeah.
But there was no such a thing as your brothers or sisters or your mother or your father. I mean, it's not like you grew into an environment where, you saw that from somebody else.
No, which yeah was quite strange in a way because well, I suppose my mother's from a farming background, so I suppose the outdoor life, yes, certainly,
Okay.
they would enjoy that, but they weren't particularly sporting.
Well,
Um,
it isn't that you have been replaced by when you're a baby or something from the milkman or something that.
no, I don't think so. No. Although, and, I've found actually interesting. My brother, although he's not into sport in the same way as I am, then in his later life, he's become a psychotherapist. So, we found the sort of psychology side of things was something we had in common, and neither of us knew that. So,
Yeah.
so that was quite interesting.
Now, then you are right now a ski instructor professionally.
Yes.
Where did you get the fascination to study or to do a major in positive psychology and to have a focus on flow? Where did you get that? Was it by skiing that you were in that kind of mental state that you forgot time, that sense of how do you call it, space, and that you really went into the activity itself? Where did you get that fascination? Because at first sight it looks like a very strange combination.
Yeah. Yeah. I well, I think skiing is certainly an activity that lends itself to
Of
flow.
course.
It's definitely a flow activity, but I don't think over the years of skiing that I realized that flow was what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I'd come across. So I had done back in the early 90s, I did a sports coaching postgraduate course, which had sports psychology in it. So I really liked the sports psychology side of things. That was quite fascinating, I suppose. But I hadn't come across flow. So that only happened when I turned 50 and decided I needed to look at other things. And that's when I sort of started looking at courses I might do, or and I came across positive psychology and thought, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Maybe it's a time of life thing where you need to look at other avenues and what you might do. And it had the psychology, but it also been positive psychology. And getting older, you start thinking of meaning and purpose in life a little
Yeah.
bit more. So
Yeah.
that I kind of related to it in that way.
Because positive psychology is rather young, eh? And seen in allez, compared with all the other forms of psychology, it's rather young.
Yes, it's I suppose it's around about 2000 that Csikszentmihalyi and Martin Seligman,
Yeah.
if you like, formalized, if you want to call it a field of psychology or a subfield, but it's had its roots in humanistic psychology, so it's not very dissimilar to that. I think the big difference with positive psychology is it's much more research and evidence based, whereas humanistic psychology, had less of that. So that was the criticism of the kind of Maslow, Rogers sort of time of psychology. But there's very much similar parallels in terms of looking at the well-being and what's right with people as opposed to what's wrong with people, and trying to make the best of life.
Now you're giving me inspiration for a question. Before we're going to go deeper into flow, because I know the phenomenon. I'm a musician also, so I have been.
Right.
That's also why I love flow. Even this kind of conversation can bring me into flow.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, if you look at Maslow, of course, his pyramid. I mean, the highest level is the level of the self-actualization, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Now, I mean, can you experience flow when you are in a lower stage of Maslow, or does these two has nothing to do with each other? You understand? Can you experience flow when you when you are experiencing a life where you're hungry, you don't have any food, you don't have any roof above your head? can you then experience flow?
Probably not, because some of the dimensions of flow require you to be, well, one of the key dimensions that you're totally focused on the task that you're engaged in. So if you're thinking about the fact that you're hungry or you're tired or you're worried about something, then that's going to get in the way of you going into a flow state. So yeah, I would say you need to have all these kind of basic needs met
Yeah.
in order to enter a flow state. Or I would certainly say there's a correlation there.
Okay. Now, I've known the flow through another writer, Jan Bommeré, and he has written a book about flow, but he looks at more from a kind of purpose point of view, where he actually states, and he based his book amongst others on the lecture of Csikszentmihalyi, is that every human being, which his natural state is actually the flow state, and that the human being, that by conditioning, society, parents, schools, etc., we are limiting ourselves with beliefs that are limiting ourselves, and that we actually cannot experience flow a lot. There are exceptions, musicians, sports people, etc., because they are dancers, for instance. um, and what for you is now flow, for the people who don't know actually? How can you describe flow? What is your definition of it?
Yeah, I suppose that there's quite a few definitions. I suppose for me, it is just that total immersion in what you're doing. So if I have a flow experience, the sort of transformation of time element, I think, is quite an important one. And it can work in two different ways. It's sort of two ways it can work. Is time can pass very quickly if you're really enjoying something, and I found actually through doing the university course itself, when I was writing, some of my assignments, there would be periods of time where you definitely weren't in flow, but when you actually got into it and you really immersed yourself in something, started to work with the assignment, time would vanish. So that was certainly a flow experience. But from a sporting point of view, from a skiing point of view, I'd say my flow movements are more where time would actually slow down, and I feel like I have all the time in the world to kind of execute the movements. It's almost like you're in slow motion, but you're not.
No.
So I think they're the two ways time can transform, and I think when you have that experience, it's a really pleasurable experience.
Can you also experience flow with other people at the same time?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would also say I've experienced flow when I'm teaching, when I'm teaching other people to ski. If you're having a really good session where you're communicating well and you're very much in the moment of that lesson, and you're and I suppose that would go for any coaching type situation. If you're truly able to be with the other person and listen to them and understand them, then you're very much in the present moment. So it's, obviously flow has a lot of similarities to mindfulness and meditation, where you're spending time in the moment, the present moment focused. So
It's that's that conditioning. It's that being in the here and now brings you to make sure that your focus is really on the thing that you are doing, and you're not thinking about tomorrow or yesterday or the dishes or the food or the work or whatever. You're just going to I'm a musician now for, I think, more than 30 years, and I can honestly say the day, and it sounds a little bit, I wouldn't say spiritual, but the day that I decided to no longer play with my head and to surrender me to the moment itself and not to think anymore, is that the moment I can feel and I'm stepping into a flow experience with the rest of the band, connecting with the audience, and I
Yeah.
no longer had to think about the chords or the music that I had to play. The moment I started thinking again,
Yeah.
then I knew I was going to make errors or something. But it's like being carried or something,
Yeah.
that experience. And it's yeah, it's and I've learned it through a book from 1974, so in 1980, I don't know who it was. And it was the first book, like something, the art of playing tennis, and then later on there is the art of playing music. You know that the book?
Oh, is it you're thinking Timothy Galway?
Yeah.
Yeah, his books on
And of
yeah.
course he doesn't call it flow, but
No, no.
it teaches how to it like in music you need to focus on, for instance, on the drummer on the
The inner
stick.
game.
Yeah,
He calls it
the inner
game of,
game, that's it.
yeah, tennis or skiing. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's very, very, very similar. It is, I think the way I describe it is, the important element is being in the here and now. And as you said, being, uh, whereas something like mindfulness or meditation, it's being in a very passive way.
yeah,
Flow requires you to be challenged,
yeah,
so you're challenging your skills. So, if you're playing a musical instrument, or I'm skiing, I'm performing at a high level. So flow tends to happen more for people who are quite skillful
yeah.
in whatever that activity is.
But that's the question I have, eh? And it's also something that you write about your book, is that how, well, first of all, I have another question. Do you tune yourself into something before you're going to ski, or you just go and it immediately comes? Do you have some kind of practice before you say, okay, I'm going to teach somebody how to ski? You say, okay, I don't know, you have some kind of routine or something, and then okay, I'm here, I'm right now, I'm not thinking about tomorrow, no, I'm here right now, and now I'm going to teach that person.
So you're talking about me as the person
Instructor,
doing
and
the
as
teaching.
instructor, and yeah, this instructor,
Yeah.
yes.
I suppose like any job though, once you've done it for a long time, in the same way as learning, a physical movement pattern, you become very confident at it. You
Mm-hmm.
become very comfortable. So it's not like you really have to think about how I'm going to do it. You obviously find out what information you can about the person you're working with prior to the session.
Yeah,
And you meet them and you go through the usual
yeah,
sort of introductions. The first ride up the lift can be a great time to clarify goals for the session and find out more about them as a
yeah.
person and understand them, so you can get a bit of some clues as to kind of learner they might be. But no, I think that starts to come naturally, like anything. You've just done it so often, so
Yeah.
it's not, I don't spend my time worrying about how am I going to deliver this session. I certainly have a routine in the morning where I need to go and have a coffee in a cafe before I meet the client.
Now,
But
the thing that I also, well, first of all, I mean, I'm going to go a little lower in terms of levels. I mean,
mhm,
flow, it starts from passion. What 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 are you good at? What are the things that you are, I wouldn't say talented for, because I think talent and being good at something, I mean, I say from myself, people say to me, you're a very talented guitar player. And I say
mhm.
to myself, no, I have a little bit talent, but I have lots of discipline and I've
Yeah,
practiced a lot. And
sure.
that makes me a great guitar player. I see other people and think they are really talented because the time they take to acclimate, how to learn, absorb things, they go that much faster than I did. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, I mean, in order to get into flow, um, how do you how do you discover then, yeah, where are the things that you can get into flow?
Yeah, I think that takes time, and I think people need to be given the opportunity to find out what interests them. And I think that's where, so, some some kids are lucky that with parents who allow them to try lots of different things until they find the things that they really enjoy.
So experimenting is the way to go.
Yeah, experimenting. Yeah. So, and trying lots of different activities, whether it's musical instruments or sport or whatever it happens to be, it's and the same really goes for work. When we get into work, are you pushed into a particular profession, or are you allowed to choose the things you want to do? And I guess that's where I was lucky that my parents didn't stop me pursuing a career as a ski instructor. They I might have got frowned on by the more extended family, but my own immediate family were very supportive, which was great, because it was such an unusual thing to do. So I was allowed to pursue what became a passion. And I think that's what people need to do. They need to find out, what are they good at? Where are their strengths? Because if you're using your strengths, you're going to have much more chance of then finding that enjoyment. And if you get the enjoyment, then flow is much more likely to occur.
I fully agree. At the same time, I mean, I don't know if I remember it, but I knew from very young age I wanted to play guitar. Don't ask me why. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like the first year that I was learning how to play the instrument that I was in flow, because it's a quite high learning curve in order to produce some kind of sound, especially when you're looking at the Dire Straits, because I'm also raised in the 80s, and I saw Bryan Adams and things like that, and I saw Mark Knopfler, and you're like, I want to play like that. I mean, it takes some time to get there. So what is like the crossing point of, you mentioned also in your book, the 10,000 hour rule. How much practice do you need to do in order to get to that level? I'm going to explain it otherwise. This podcast, you're now the 68th guest, so the 68th conversation. I mean, for me, it comes very naturally. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, I can't exactly remember. That was for me quite hard work, because I didn't know what to do. I need to be prepared, etc., etc. But now the questions, because I tune in and I go into flow, and I can explain how I do it, but it comes naturally. Of course, I mean, I've read your book, and I know in my head the things I want to ask, but I don't need that much preparation anymore. So my question is, for me, it's like, where is that kind of tipping point that you're starting to embrace or to taste that kind of flow?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's difficult, because you do need to practice, enough to get good at something. So
what is enough? What is enough?
What is enough? Yeah, because that 10,000 hour rule is sort of quite misunderstood. It's taken out of context quite often as well. It's you have to practice in the right way. It's not enough just to practice in any sort of fashion. It has to be with purpose, or, as Erickson would have talked about, deliberate practice, if you're going to get really good. So you have to be prepared to put in some of the hours, and it won't always be enjoyable. So I don't think it would be wrong to say that you will always enjoy everything you do, because life's not like that. So if you truly like something, then it's going to take some hard work as well to get there. So
if
even in skiing, for me, I wouldn't say I enjoyed every aspect of it, but I was prepared to go to my local artificial slope and go there 5-6 days a week and practice, because I knew the goal was to get better when I got out onto the mountains and to the real skiing, but I was prepared to put the work in. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily experiencing flow in those moments. So I don't think you're not going to get flow all of the time.
No.
But if you get it a few times, you'll want it again. It does become an addictive thing as well.
Yes.
It's such a nice experience that you want to find it.
Yeah, it's like you are no longer feeling your body anymore. That's maybe a little.
I mean, I don't play a musical instrument, but I can appreciate music, and you talked about there the idea of playing in a band, and just that to me would seem like such an awesome flow experience when you're playing with other people and you're all just totally as one and seem
Yeah,
to know what each other are doing,
yeah, yeah.
and you're not having to think about who
No,
does what. It's just all working.
now the thing, although, is that what I experience, if all the people, their egos need to be at the door,
Yeah.
because you have to be willing to surrender yourself to the music, to the song, because you're serving the song. If you're serving the song to serve your ego,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work. So it's yeah, it's yeah, it's a, but once you taste it, it's something magical. It's but I cannot direct it. There are evenings where it goes automatically, and there are evenings where, yeah, it doesn't go. Yeah, I cannot say I'm going to go in flow to this evening. It's not going to go like that. But
Yeah.
going back to about the practice, I mean, it's like setting an intention and saying, okay, I'm now going to practice this piece of this part and so on. And I know I'm not in flow because I'm learning. And
Yeah.
then when the performance comes, then you are letting go of the expectation. And then are you letting go of all the theory and all the practice? You're letting everything go and you surrender. And it's like, for me, pushing a kind of a button, which I don't have in, for instance, a rehearsal.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I suppose the way I've looked at it, again, I always come back to the sporting angle,
Of
which
course.
is what I know most. But I think it's also where your attention is directed.
Yeah.
Because when you're learning something, your attention is very directed at, how I move my body in certain ways to create a certain movement pattern. So I have to think consciously through how I make those movements. Well, when I get better, I don't need to think about those movements. So my attention can then focus in a skiing sense. I can focus more on the environment that I'm skiing in. So typically the beginner skier is so focused on learning to make the movements that they need to make
Yeah.
that they have no awareness of what's going on
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah.
So they can't see other people on the slope. They're more likely to, if you weren't there with them, they might, crash into something or somebody, because their awareness is
Yeah.
very inward on
Yeah.
just how do they actually manage the skill. Once that becomes more automated, then you can change your
Yeah.
focus attention, to a more outward
Yeah.
focus, which is generally less busy in the mind, so that the
Yeah.
attention becomes more effortless, and then and you can kind of just focus on that and let the movements themselves just happen. And I guess the same would be in when you're playing music. You're not having to think how you play
Yeah.
the different chords.
It
You,
goes it goes further than that. I mean,
yeah,
when you're playing alone, so when you cannot play, so you're indeed you're playing my right hand, my left hand, where are the fingers, things like that. So you're really internally, like you mentioned in your book.
hmm,
But if you have done it so many times, for me, I'm standing on the stage. I mean, I don't have to look to my fingers. I hear everything that's being played. So I can say that note of the bass player, that's wrong. Nobody will know that, but I will know that immediately. And I will just look like this and they will know what I'm saying. So I hear every beat, every accent of the drummer, but it's because my attention is going everywhere. I can connect with
yeah,
with the audience because, yeah, I always say, I mean, you have to study, master your songs for 200, 300%. So when you're on a gig, you can give like 100, 120%, and you have a lot. And all the rest is attention that you can use externally, because it's crucial, because it's indeed in that external connection
yeah.
that you can go into together in some flow state.
Yeah, and as you say, particularly if you're playing with others, it's the same. When I worked with for my research study, I worked with skiers who were skiing in a demonstration, ski team. So they're skiing together on the mountain in formation. So they have to know where each other are and exactly what the movements are, that the routine that they have to perform. So that external awareness is crucial. They can't be thinking about how they're they're doing the activity itself. You know, and I think with a lot of sporting people, when they're so focused like that, they just are totally zoned into what they need to focus on, and they block out everything else. You know, they may be aware of the crowd if they want to be aware of the crowd, but otherwise they may just block that out and just focus on the performance. You know, because some athletes will use the audience or the crowd as you know, but other times they'll just completely block it away.
Yeah.
Um,
Does every peak performance in sports, can you say that these top athletes, when they're doing such peak performance, are they automatically in flow? Is flow the only way to get to peak performance?
no, I don't. Not from the research I've looked at. That, you know, the suggestion is you could reach peak performance through you know, a more effortful state. There's a researcher called Christian Swans looked at a state he calls clutch state, which is, he calls it, you would actually end up being more exhausted after it.
Yeah.
Because you're having to put a lot of effort into reaching that peak performance. Where in a flow state, it's a different, it's a nicer experience of peak performance. But I think people sometimes wrongly say that flow and peak performance are the same thing. They're not. But flow is often seen as a gateway to peak performance.
No.
You know, so it can open up that opportunity. But just to say that flow and peak performance always happen together is not really correct. But quite often, I would say that when you are in flow, you're definitely performing either very well or potentially at your best. So it's a desirable state for many reasons. So because you're performing well, obviously, is one of them, but it's also because it's a pleasant experience. You know, and it can lead to other benefits as well, because you're not worrying about, as you say, you're in the moment, you're not worried about what others are thinking, and you're allowing yourself to be. So, you know, it has a lot of potential mental health benefits as well, which recent research seems to have suggested from lockdowns with COVID, that people who can find flow are sort of better able to handle that situation than those that don't. So, you know, I think flow, there's much more to flow than just peak performance, I would say, if that is one outcome.
I mean, we're talking now about music and sports, but I can assure you that in my professional career, I also experience flow, and it really depends on the people, the environment, etc., etc. As I have heard about the study, and I don't know if it's true or not, that when a team or people are in flow states and they're working in flow, that they are, what is it, 500% more productive than somebody who is not in a flow state. So this means that you would only have to work one day in a week.
You're right.
Yeah, but I believe that, because people in a flow state, they're at the top of their creativity. They can connect with customers, yeah, so in a very good way, and customers are actually being driven into that flow process. Co-creation, which is for me like the group name of people in a flow state. And of course, not a lot of people are going to call it, oh, we're now in a flow state, but I'm quite convinced that that it's not only applicable for sports or music or dance or more of the sports slash artistic things, because people a lot or dancing associate that with flow, but it's for me more than that.
No, you're right. It's an area that is now being researched a lot more. Is within the work environment, in the team flow has become a term that's been used. So there are some specific researchers out there looking at team flow. It's not an area that, you know, I've looked at particularly, but it's quite interesting. I think you're absolutely right that, you know, people working together like that are going to be more productive. You know, sounds good if it's 500% more productive, but
yeah, okay, but
yeah, I think that's definitely the case. As an American chap called Oren Davis is starting to do quite a lot of work on the team flow. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting area. Well, as you say, whether you call it flow or not doesn't really matter. It's the fact that people are able to work together, as you said, co-create. I think what you said earlier as well, it requires people to kind of manage their ego in the right way as well.
Leave your ego at the door.
Yeah, as you said, yeah, it's exactly the same whether in sport it's a team sport or a music. You know, if people are trying to kind of show off or
that's it.
You know, and it's the same. I've coming up through the skiing world. You know, I can remember that as becoming a ski instructor. It's got quite an image to it as a job. You know, in terms of you can sort of be in front of your clients and think, well, look at me, I'm wonderful, I'm a ski instructor, I ski so well.
You have the nicest girls also, so
well,
it's like a tennis instructor. It's the same, eh?
Yeah, so
it has that image.
You've got to get away from that, you know, and sort of move beyond that sort of, and be there for the customer, not for, you know, for showing off, for showing what you can do. But I guess that's the same in many areas of life.
Of course, I mean, you're now over 50 or 50?
I'm 54 now. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, 50 when I went on to the master's course. Yeah. So
yeah, but
obviously a midlife crisis, you know.
Yeah, but flow keeps you young, eh, Derek?
Yeah, no, it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. Yeah. Now I mean, did I hear it well that writing also that you discovered during studying positive psychology and writing this book, that is also something that you go into flow?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've certainly experienced that quite a bit writing the book. And I think it's one of the things that really helped me through the lockdowns that we had was having that focus. And there was no real deadline there either, because it wasn't like I had to get it written, and it was definitely being done because it was something I wanted to do, which is another almost requirement of flow, is that you're more intrinsically motivated to do it. So I would say that, yeah, I was more intrinsically than extrinsically motivated. You know, I might be thinking about longer term, it would be nice to sell a few books, but it was definitely more, something I was enjoying doing, and I was enjoying trying to pull together all that information I'd learned on the master's course and sort of put it down in my words, and, you know, pull together all the research and get it into a book.
What was that for you, the drive behind the book? Really, that to make a kind of a summary of the 3 years master?
Not just the masters, but because the masters had connected me so much to other areas of my life that I'd never really connected together, you know. So, you know, I think the masters helped me think about, well, what is my purpose? What is the meaning in life for me? You know, I'd never really thought about it. I'd never really considered why I enjoyed being in the mountains, or why certain sports had taken me in a certain direction. And yeah, so it kind of helped to pull everything together.
And why is that? What's your
why?
Yes, purpose.
Why do I have that purpose, or
what's your purpose? Because I find that an interesting one.
Yeah, I think I feel my purpose now has become to share with others, you know, my passion for the mountains and obviously now flow. But I didn't know what flow was before. I didn't realize that was what I was experiencing when I was out enjoying different activities outside. So yeah, I guess my passion has become that, or my purpose, because that I want to share that with other people.
That's a very interesting one. I mean, it's like giving back. It's like you have a talent, and maybe in the younger years, you use that talent for your own good, collect money and status and things like that. And it's nothing wrong with that. But later on, maybe you find happiness in giving. You enjoy like giving, sharing that knowledge.
Oh yeah, I mean, teaching skiing is very much like that, because the joy comes from the enjoyment that people get from the experience, and you soon realize that they don't just come skiing because of the sport itself. They come skiing because they enjoy getting away from maybe the city life and getting to a completely different environment, and then their eyes are open to just how beautiful the environment is that they're in. So it's not uncommon for me to stop a guest in the mountains and just say, just have a look at the view, and you're able to point out different mountains and tell them what they are, and just get them to enjoy where they are.
The funny thing, Derek, is that I hate skiing. I really do
Right.
hate it.
Okay.
I had a phobia for skiing like 10 years ago. I went when I was in France with colleagues, and I was in a green, how do you call that, piste?
Yeah.
And
green run. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and suddenly I was at the red one, and I was so afraid of going down that I immediately blocked there. And but when I hear you talking, I'm like, shit, I want to follow courses with you, because you tell it with such aligned passion. It's really something in your energy that I'm like, oh, I'm going to call my wife. She's downstairs, and because she wants to learn our son of 3.5 to teach. She wants to give them the
Yeah.
experience. Whereas I'm like, oof, I'm not afraid of the cold, because I like
Yeah.
the cold and ice cold showers. I'm all into that. But the skiing, I'm like, oof, I'm afraid. But if I hear you talking, your passion is quite contagious.
But if you had children as well learning, that would probably change your perception.
Yeah,
If
yeah, yeah.
you saw your children learning and enjoying the sport. But I'd also say then you don't have to ski to enjoy the mountains and enjoy winter in the
No,
mountains.
no, I know,
You know,
but
that,
I'm jealous of these colleagues. They were going from mountain to
yeah,
mountain, having a drink, going to black runs, and I could not, enjoy that scenery. I wasn't saying I was not jealous, but I envy them. As like, yeah, I
sure.
mean, of course it's beautiful, because the time they took to go from mountain to mountain was much smaller than for me. So yeah, the stupidest thing that maybe I've then learned is that I took lessons again on the last day, because I thought I could ski, because I did it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting. Now
But
to come.
I've had clients over the years who've started out, they didn't like the sport at all, but they wanted to do it because their partner did it or their kids did it. So they stuck with it, and you just spend that time with them, and you take a sort of a gentle approach to it, and
Yeah,
years
yeah,
later they love it.
yeah, that's
So
true.
it can take time, but if you have other reasons for wanting to do it as well, perhaps they are external reasons, but then eventually it can become that you enjoy it more intrinsically for you
That
have your
it
own motivations for it.
that's it. The intrinsic motivation. That's nothing more than purpose for me. Like, as a part of it's. I even have it with my job, and you have to be willing to, I would say, be so fueled by that internal fire in order to be or do something. Um, and because I mentioned it today, we were having a management meeting, and I said, look, I mean, for me, it's like I'm here to bring out the best version of these younger people, like 24 and 25, and I'm willing to risk everything professionally to do that. So if you're going to say you cannot do that anymore, you should focus it. I say fuck off, and that's my purpose, and that's for me really that inner burning thing, instead of just doing a job.
Yeah.
But I cannot explain where it comes from,
No.
because I'm 45.
Yeah.
When I was 30, I wasn't like that. I wasn't like that. I
No,
was
and I don't.
I was more externally. motivated, the money, the status, the blah blah blah. But it didn't make me happy.
No, well, and I suppose if I reflect as well, I wouldn't say I always loved the sport and I loved where I was with the sport, but you know, we certainly went through periods of life where it was about the external things as well. But it definitely comes with age that you start to your things change in terms of your outlook, and there's no doubt that your purpose takes time, I think, to evolve. I don't know if I suppose guess some people maybe find their purpose earlier than others, but in my case, I'd say it's taken more. You know, as I get into the 50s, I definitely have more of an understanding of what I feel my purpose is at this point.
Isn't it because it is not because you have found your purpose that you reach the destination. It's just the purpose. You have to still be and do something.
Oh yeah.
But,
No,
and it's not fixed.
No, it's not. It's not a destination. It's an ongoing journey.
And that's the fun part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I think I said in my book anyway. You know, some of the milestones that I achieved along the way when I actually did that in terms of qualifications, that
yeah,
they were actually quite flat and quite disappointing.
yeah.
So the the real joy was in striving to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people just miss that. They're so worried about achieving the goal that they don't enjoy getting there.
This is, Derek, for me now, one of the biggest lessons that I learned in life is that it's not about the goal. The enjoyment lies in the striving too. I had it professionally. I had it in on the music. I mean, I remember when I was 30, and we were going to play a very big festival in Belgium, and I was really an asshole. I really was the magician that was not good enough again, and again. So when we did that performance, I did not enjoy it. I was like, is this it now? I mean, I've longed for it. I'm looking forward to it. I thought I was going to shine gold out of my body, something miraculous.
Right.
But nothing. I was just the same person.
Yeah.
With the same things that I thought about myself. And I was like, this is not it. But the day I said, look, guys, it's not about the goal. We're running a marathon here. We're going to enjoy ourselves. Of course, it needs to be good. I mean, but we are going to enjoy ourselves in rehearsals and make things fun. And we have time. And whatever will happen, if we make errors or not, we don't have to play. Even then, if we would even participate for the Eurovision contest, I mean, we're not going to get any points, external points here. It's about the internal points, the enjoy. And when I changed that mindset, that I mean, everything, even professionally. I mean, look, when you are in sales, yeah, I get the target, I get the objective. No, it's about the process. Just enjoy. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and that makes every day fun, and it makes and it sounds like you just said, it sounds really, I would say, yeah, but it's normal. No, it's not, because it's a very big change in viewing the things, in mindsets that would make people much more happier instead of always going for that. Because the thing is that when you're going for the goal, you're actually not in the here and now, because the goal is in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, even thinking about the university course that when I did the master's, it's, because I'm doing it at that stage of life where I'm a bit older. In fact, the majority of the cohort were of, older age group. There wasn't very many people just out of, a first degree. So we were probably more of a similar mindset, but I wasn't really ever that worried about getting the master's. That was kind of nice when it happened, but once I actually went on to that course thinking I was going to do the entire thing from a distance learning point of view, because I was out here teaching skiing in the Alps. And then I went on the first weekend. We had a weekend every month where we came together as a cohort. And I enjoyed that weekend so much that I thought, I'm going to try and make more of these. So I made 5 of the 8 weekends in the first year. And the second year I went to all 8. And I was flying back every weekend from here in France back to the UK just for a 2-day weekend. But it was such an enjoyable process. The lecturers running the course were amazing people. The conversations that we got engaged in were so deep and meaningful that I just enjoyed being there and doing it. And it was almost, the assignments were fine, but it was the weekends made that course. That's when I really realized it is the journey that's so important. And then you can savor that journey as well, because you're actually taking time to notice it as you were doing it, as opposed to, suddenly thinking, oh, I didn't really take time to enjoy that, and it's all gone now.
Because in 10 years, you will remember those weekends, but the day you received your degree, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as big a thing at all. It's nice to get that achievement, but I definitely enjoyed that master's process far more than I had some of my ski instructor qualifications back in, when I was in my 20s. But then it was so important that I got to this level, because there was so much status around it that I just wanted to get to that level. But I sort of missed some of the journey because of that. Just didn't really enjoy it at all.
That's an interesting one.
Certain parts of it, certainly.
Yeah, I'm quite sure that when you focus on the enjoyment of the here and now of the process, your chances are higher that you are getting that goal without focusing on it. It sounds a little bit contradictory.
Yeah. I think you need to have the goal there.
Of course, you need to have.
But it also needs to be, the goal itself needs to be flexible, and you need to be prepared to adapt or change it if required.
It's like you put a goal on a paper and you put it in a locker and you don't look at it anymore. And then 1 year later, oh, I reached the goal, or something around that goal.
Sure. Yeah.
And just enjoy what you're doing. For instance, I'm now learning to play the piano. It's quite challenging. And I set myself, okay, I'm going to play 52 songs in a year.
Right.
Which is a lot. Because you start from scratch. And I mean, it's a quite steep learning curve, but I'm not fixed to that goal. But I need to set that goal in order to push me forward.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there is no kind of direction.
Yeah, and I think would be the same with even writing the book. I needed a goal. I needed something, I think I had the idea of writing the book before lockdown happened, but once the first lockdown happened, it was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, so there was suddenly something there to work towards.
So the lockdown was a gift for you.
It was in a way, and I'm actually writing a follow-up book now.
Okay.
So, it's trying to, it is giving you something really to focus your attention on, and to take it away from the endless watching the news, which is so easy to do. And then you're moving into the wrong areas of attention, so you need to stay on something that's,
I mean, watching the news and studying positive psychology, these are really two different extremes, because the news is like the negative psychology. What's the follow book about?
Well, it's taking this first one, this learn, enjoy, flow, and grow as a coaching method, and looking at how really to coach it either to others or to yourself. So the book's called The 9 Habits of a Flow Coach.
Oh,
So it's getting the idea that, that you can become a flow coach, or if you're an existing coach, you can, by learning more about flow, you can add to your skill set as a coach. So it's looking at what the sort of habits, the good habits would be of, to get you to help you or other people experience flow.
so within 10 years, you're like the Stephen Covey of flow.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, and this book will, my first book's obviously got a little bit more of a sporting feel to it because of my background. So I'm trying to bring this book a little bit more towards the kind of business leadership sort of areas as well. So.
Yeah, but it's I mean, there are a lot of parallels between top sports and business. I mean, the biggest challenge in biggest difference is that in top sports, the biggest aspect there is rest. Whereas in business, I mean, we just keep going, and yeah, with all the negative results. So there are a lot of similarities that the new way of business, because I really believe that we're entering a more purpose driven of doing business. I mean, look at all the younger people like 23, 24, 25. I mean, if you don't have any purpose driven message, purpose driven activity, which has an impact on society, I'm not saying that they will not work for you, but they are wired differently. I mean, when we were 23, there was no such a thing as the internet. There was internet, but it was not publicly available. Okay, so but these youngsters with podcasts, YouTube, things like that, they have access to everything. They have access to the bad things for their mind, but they also have sometimes access to good things. So I think that's an interesting one. When do you want to publish it?
I'm looking at sort of summer, June is the plan. So early summer.
Cool.
So yeah, it's going
to buy it.
Get working hard on that now over the next while.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. Sounds really cool. Now, if you would go back into time, Derek, with a DeLorean, and you would meet the Derek when he was like 16 or 18, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I don't know. It's always a difficult question. I suppose the main thing I would tell is to stop worrying. And I think I know myself, I spend a lot of my life always worrying too much about what's going to happen in the future. And I think that's one of the things that being on the positive psychology courses has helped. It's getting, the other area that I've sort of got into is just mindfulness and meditation. I partly did that because it was something I could see was used in sport a lot, but then the more I've got to learn about it, the more I've thought, this is just such a good thing for stopping you from always worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Do you meditate?
I do, yeah.
Like 2 times 20 minutes a day?
Meditate once every day. I've been doing that now for probably almost 2 years consecutively every day. I did this meditation and mindfulness teacher training as a sort of separate course, but with one of the lecturers who works on the positive psychology programs. I did that partly because I wanted that for my research, because I wanted to use mindfulness as the intervention for training attention skills, with the idea that would help people experience flow more readily, because there's that kind of correlation between the here and now in mindfulness and in flow. There's some differences, but there's certainly commonality there. So that I wanted to learn more about that to help me with, getting my intervention together for the research study.
For me, there is a correlation between I meditate now for 3-4 years,
Yeah,
and being in flow easier, because it's like you said, that voice in my head, it's still there,
yeah,
but it's more silent, and it doesn't drive my life anymore. I mean,
yeah,
of course, I'm going to create sometimes scenarios, what is going to happen here or there. I mean, but it's not. I mean, in the past, it was like that. This voice was actually leading my life with all the consequences. I was constantly thinking, overthinking, overanalyzing.
sure.
Whereas right now, I'm like, yeah, everything is cool right now, and it's. I wouldn't say it saved my life. Also, it makes me more creative. I can honestly say that it's makes me more. It makes me come easier into a flow state. So for me, there is definitely a positive correlation between those two.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a link. I mean, certainly my research did find that, but there's other research out there that says the same, that if you can get better at being in the here and now, and focusing your attention, then you're more easily able to access the flow state, when you're doing a challenging activity. So it definitely helps. But I think it's more than that, for life in general. Meditation for me, and being more mindful generally, is it allows you to just pause and make better decisions about things,
Yep,
because if you're constantly worried about things, you're more likely to keep reacting to what's happening.
that's it. It's no longer being reacting. That's it.
Yeah, and I just love that kind of phraseology. You want to respond to life, not react to life.
Yeah.
That's for me is
The
just kind
the
of mantra I'm trying to live by.
yeah, the meditation for me is I don't know who said it, but it's like it's it's creating more spaces between the thoughts that you are experiencing, and the fact that there is more space between the thoughts, it makes you to, for instance, when you're in a car and somebody is blocking you, yeah, maybe because all the thoughts are very rapidly after each other, you immediately are going to react. You're going to shout very stupid names to that person. But when you're meditating for quite a time, you see that the thoughts and then the reaction, that there is a pause between, and then you say, am I going to react on, am I going to get angry? No, it's just no,
Yeah,
no, it's not worth it. I'm not going to waste my energy, because it's my
yeah,
reaction to
yeah,
it, and it's me feeling that negative emotion.
yeah. No, no, I think that's so true. And I've noticed that even over the years, something like driving, you just get so much more relaxed about, or certainly I felt that I'm not in a rush. Even though I might be going to work, I'm still not rushing there. I'm not worried about getting past other cars, whereas you see so many people just, and their life is just a rush.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, they're probably going to react to stuff, and not have that space, as you say, to pause and be able to realize that they have a choice.
yeah.
So that's, yeah, it's definitely helped with that.
Now we went back into time. If we're now
Mm,
going to go into the future, and we're going to add 10 years of Derek.
okay.
So who is Derek within 10 years? He's then traveling the world, teaching. He has like a flow academy, and he's like the Stephen Covey of flow.
I not, yeah, I don't know. I genuinely think that I want to use what I've gained, the knowledge I've gained, and what I'm doing to really to share those experiences. I know it does sound a little bit cheesy. You want to share things with other people, but
No, it's not.
I've,
It's not.
I've come to realize that sharing something like this is good for people's mental health, and there's so many people out there that need to have things that help their mental health, especially with the current climate that we've got. So I think that is what I want to do, whether that's done through skiing, because that's something that really gives people pleasure, or whether it's done through running online workshops as I'm doing now about flow, or whether it's done through, writing books. It can be done through lots of different ways. Of course, I'm also thinking about, you have to keep making a living, and you want to be comfortable and that side of it. And there's obviously concerns at the moment with the lack of being able to do my main job of teaching skiing. So I certainly hope in 10 years' time we'll be managed to get rid of viruses and be able to, get out there and do what we have been doing. But I guess I went on the master's course originally so that I had other things in my life and I wasn't relying just on teaching skiing, because it's quite physically demanding and I'm not getting younger. So I would like to be able to, in 10 years' time, just to teach part-time rather than rely on it as a full-time job. So probably more of a mixture of doing that. I'm not going to give that up, but whether it's sharing flow and all of the positive psychology stuff with people, I think that would be just mix it in. So yeah, definitely try and share it with others.
I see you presenting with these beautiful pictures of yourself skiing from a mountaintop with these action pictures. Yeah, but that works, eh? These kind of pictures. I mean,
yeah.
it's. I mean, people can relate to that. I mean,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Talking very theoretically is one thing, but theory doesn't change people. Pictures does. Touching their emotions, that changes people, their behavior. At least that would spark them.
Yeah, you've got to give them a story there, and as you say, paint pictures. And yeah, so if you have that in your own life and you have some excitement in your life that you can share with others, for sure. And there's plenty of beautiful places I've been to, and and skiing in many different parts of the world. So it's it's nice to be able to share those stories.
And with all due respect of people who are getting into flow of doing the dishes, I mean, seeing somebody skiing and getting into flow is a little bit more sexier. I mean,
oh, of course, yeah. I mean that's why some of the kind of more thrill-seeking sports obviously attract people. But it is important to point out to people that it doesn't have to be. You don't have to involve yourself in danger to experience flow. You can do it in work as well.
And I mean, you said you want to share, because did you already receive from people who have read your book? Like, because I have had that with the podcast, and I'm sure it will happen also with our conversations, that people are getting curious and even take action. Do you had already people who said, aha, Derek, I've woken up. I'm going to search for my purpose, or some kind of people who have given you feedback like, whoa, this really completely changed my life? Because honestly, the reason why Inge, because I'm very thankful for Inge, who introduced me to you, the book for me started like 8 years ago about flow. So when she came to me with, Derek, he's about flow, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So for me, that concept alone completely changed my life. I've changed everything: job, musician, everything. So for me, it's all about that flow state.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had feedback from people, and probably more from the online courses I've run. So I started running the flow workshops online in September, and initially a lot of the people coming to the courses were ski instructors, because they can do the courses for CPD purposes, to maintain their qualifications. So that was great, but I got a lot of really great feedback from people saying how much they'd enjoyed those courses. And while initially they come on the course just because they needed to do something to maintain their qualifications, they really enjoyed it and had made a change in their life. So I've probably had more feedback from the courses so far. But I've had some nice feedback about the book
And
as
and
well.
and, and isn't that okay? I understand the financial part. You have to make a living. I understand
Mm.
it, but isn't that the fuel that you need to?
Oh, for sure.
Is
Yeah.
that really about, wow, I give something, but I don't want to get something back. But when you then receive such a feedback,
Oh, it's yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, 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 and just yeah. I mean, there was somebody else put on their social media. They've been doing a review of their year, and one of the things they added in was that they had made their year so much better was finding out about flow, and that was somebody who'd worked with me as well. You know, who I'd introduced to flow through one of the workshops. You know, so it is really nice when you get that people have valued that.
cool.
Uh,
I'm going to add the links of the online course, of course, in the comments and on and
hmm.
social media channels. When you're not a skier, what can you get out of the online course?
When you're not, well, I mean, it just
Like me, I'm not a skier. If I
yeah.
would join the course, how does it look like? Is it like 5 weeks? How?
Oh, the course is it's each. I've got three different workshops. The first one is an introduction to flow.
Hmm,
The second one looks more deeply into the flow experience and looks at the whole area of developing the skill of attention. And then the third one sees how flow sits within the bigger picture of our life, and brings in more of the different aspects of positive psychology. So that it brings in sort of meaning and purpose into it and hope, and just sees how flow can be part of that bigger picture. So it's really looking more at mental health. So one workshop naturally follows on to the next. Each workshop is 5.5 hours duration,
okay.
with 3 of those hours being a Zoom online session. But what I found is the Zoom sessions are great because, you know, typically I've had about 6 to 8 people on the workshops, and they're just incredibly interactive, and people are prepared to share their experiences from whatever area of life they're from, whether it's a different sport or whether it's just their work. So the conversations have been very varied on the workshops, and not just about sport or skiing. You know,
And is it are the participants at this moment? Is there a kind of pattern? Is it like they're more male above 40, or is it a combination of everything? People from men 20 to women in their 60s,
yeah,
something.
it's been very mixed actually. Yeah, very mixed, and I've had people from different parts of the world. I mean, that's the great thing about Zoom, is people can join from and that's maybe different to how we've worked in the past, where in face-to-face sessions you can really only get people who are prepared to travel to wherever you're running a course. But over Zoom, people can come from wherever. So yeah, I've had people from New Zealand and America, and different parts of Europe and the
Ooh.
UK, obviously. So it's really interesting running those courses, and yeah, people get a lot from them, and the book obviously supports that.
Of course.
It's the book has driven a lot of the content for the courses. Um, so that's it's just a way, I suppose, of enacting what's in the book and bringing it to life.
Yeah, but I can imagine, if you're not familiar with a subject, that the online course is a more easier step up to
Yeah,
get introduced and then read the book.
yeah, and I think that certainly works well. I suppose it depends. The book it certainly takes you through a whole process
Yeah,
of
yeah,
between looking at learning and the whole area of learning and how we develop our interests. And but yeah, there's a lot in the book as well. You could I would say the book would almost hopefully prompt people to go and read other books, because there's massive amount of references and
yeah.
in that book for everywhere else you can go to find out more. So it can certainly steer you towards, if you're particularly interested in certain areas. There's lots of great authors out there, and researchers that you can follow up on.
Is it, by the way, a very closing? I have two closing questions. This is the almost last one.
Okay.
Don't you miss the Guinness beer in Dublin?
I do sometimes, yeah. And it was funny because I this
Because you're now drinking wine, I assume.
yeah, in France, yeah, wine is good. But the year just passed is the first year I've not been in the UK or Ireland for the entire year for the first time ever. Due to the situation, and I've still got family in Ireland, so it's been quite tough to not get back there at all.
And do you feel now a Frenchman or an Irishman?
Oh, I'm still Irish.
Okay.
I would say, but no, I love living here in France. It's a great place, and it's obviously great where I live, being in the Alps. So it's a great part of the world. It's quite a one of the things I love about being in this area is we're on the Italian and Swiss border as well. So it's wonderful to be able to travel around so easily to those different cultures, and I've kind of missed that, not just being able to go through the tunnel to Italy and to Courmayeur and enjoy Italian coffee, or across to Switzerland, and it's a great part of the world to be.
But I promise you, Derek, if the borders are again, if we can travel again more open and freely, we will come. And when my toddler son is ready, we will come and take some lessons from you. And I will bring you
great.
the greatest beer in the world, the Belgian ones.
Oh, yeah. Obviously. That would be great.
Is there something that we did not discuss, Derek, that you want to touch upon?
No, I don't think so. I think we, didn't exactly know where we were going to go, so it's good.
Flow, eh?
Yeah, we've talked about lots of stuff that's in the book and the workshop. So yeah, no, it's been really fun, really good to speak to you as well and learn about what make you, what things are flow for you.
This is for me flow. This is my thing. This something that I stumbled upon by accident. This is what I love to do.
Yeah, and you can see you enjoy it.
yeah. But of course, I've read your book, but it's that curiosity, and it's you say something because I have to listen deep to you. I cannot. I think about my next question. No, you're saying something, and then I'm saying okay. But I know it's going to be okay. So it's that's for me pure flow, because I cannot perform. Yeah, I can perform digitally. I did a gig 2 weeks ago for 5 minutes in a theater recording. But it's that's not it's performing, but it's not the same, of course, because there's no audience. So
it's just the same when we're teaching people to ski. You have to listen to them and go with where the lesson goes. If you try and teach to a plan, it'll be the wrong lesson.
That's correct.
You always have to go where the person needs to go, where they want to go.
Yeah, that's true.
You can only do that through listening to them, and not just the verbally, but all listening.
Yeah, and this is also something that I experience, is that although it's not physically, and I know when you're physically meeting, it would be an even more different experience having this conversation, but also from a more Zoom, remote, virtually session, there is still a possibility to experience a flow experience.
Yeah, I think, and I found doing the online sessions, it's quite an intense experience, because when you are face to face, sometimes you can, especially with a group, you can kind of, almost switch off if you need to, or take a break. But I think in the online environment, it's different. You're very, very focused the whole time, which is good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
But it's different. And it's something I think we've all had to learn about over the last year.
Yes, indeed. Derek, thanks a lot. And I feel a second one coming up when your new book is going to be.
That would be great.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. Also, Inge, thanks a lot for the introduction. Just
thank you. Yeah.
Hang on a little bit, and I wish you all the best with the courses and the books. and fulfilling your purpose. And speak to you next time. Have a great day, Derek.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.